Ladies and gentlemen, the next presentation that is up is Felice Tecce from Naples, Italy, joining us remotely from Naples. And his presentation is Racing as a Paradigm for Pursuing the Best. Mario, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob. And actually, I have to say that good morning to everybody. That is very, very nice for me to be here, even if in a remote connection. And I want to thank you, Bob, and Duke Arget-Singer, and Paul Baxa, but also all other organizers for allowing me to be here. Now I'm starting to share my screen, and it should be shared now. I hope it's shared. And here is my presentation. I'm going to talk to you about race car driving and how this activity can be an example of doing good. But before starting, I would just like to show a picture of where I work. And here is my teaching building at my university, and I'm proud to show you the name of the building is F1. So you can see I'm very happy to work in a place which is called F1, if it is just a numbering of our building. But I like to think that it's because I'm a Formula One enthusiast. Now, coming to the theme, I'm going to try to analyze with you race car driving, mostly race car driving and driving. Race car driving is something which is made of two things, car development and driving. Obviously, during a race, the most important thing is driving, but before that, even the human action of car development is important. The point is to talk about driving and try to demonstrate that this is a positive activity. And to do that, I will try to answer essentially to three different questions. First of all, what is driving? And mostly more race driving. And in general, if driving is getting obsolete, and finally, if driving is something good or bad. Starting from that, I like to use this image. You see this image is from racing in the 60s. Actually, it's a picture taken from a movie, Grand Prix. And looking at this image, I also like to remember the last driver which used leather gloves. And this was Francois Savert. And actually, I like to remember him even because he won in Watkins Glen in 1971. And also we have to remember that he died in the same track 2 years later. So even this example gives us the idea that racing is something that actually can be very nice when you think about winning of a driver, but also something which is connected to the death. So this is something which sometimes was questioned about the value of racing, if racing was something good or bad. But let's go to the first question. What is driving? We can say that driving generally, even beyond car driving, is an effort to achieve a particular objective. And when it's done, implies making choices before acting. This is, while it is car driving, will be steering, braking, accelerating, but one has to decide when and how to steer, when and how to brake. So it is making a choice and then acting. And in general, human activities is done of choices and action, and they can be good or bad. The same can be for driving. So I would like to say that driving is just an occasion within our life to be good and to do good. And then we have to evaluate if this it is like that, if it is good or if it is not good. Now, comparing what it is race car driving versus usual car driving, which is what most of us are passionate, are enthusiastic about car racing, but most of us just look at car racing. What is the relationship between race car driving and usual car driving? I think it's just a quantitative relation. I mean, the difference are just quantitative. And special occasion to do fast speed driving is a major aspect, speed. I wrote here a question, which is, I'm sorry, I hope the connection will stay. I have a question which is still from this movie, which I like a lot. I think it's very, very important in the history of racing. It is Grand Prix from Jean Frankenheimer, a movie of 1966, which I think influenced what was the perception of racing even in the following years, probably even today. There is this character of this movie which was why it is so marvelous to go very fast. It's a simple question. It's about a character which didn't know anything about racing. So was just plainly asking that. And what can be the answer to this question? Is it because speed is associated with hazard and violence? And this is something which as often brings a bad judgment about racing, the violence, the danger, the deaths. It is really the goal of racing and what it comes from speed. Or another possible answer is speed is marvelous because it can give a special feeling of achievement, of doing at best, even if this brings some hazard and violence. But this is not the goal, hazard and violence. It's just something which has to be taken, has to be accepted to try to get this special achievement. Competition. Race car driving is competition. Competition obviously is something which you can find in many other aspects of life, but it is race car driving is competition. What is competition? Competition is try to do the best possible using as reference other participants. To make competition, I need other racers. I cannot race alone. I need the other racers as reference. And if we want to remember the origin of this word, the origin is from Latin, from two Latin words, which were cum petere, which is searching together, cum, for the best. So competition is something which is not doing against others, but together. You cannot do competition, you cannot race without other racers. Next question, is car driving and also then race car driving became obsolete? Years, but we will see autonomous vehicles substituting traditional cars. We will likely use cars like now we use elevators. We're just saying where we want to go and they will do everything for us. And this will be the role. Then what about driving then? If not obsolete, it will be uncommon. I think the comparison can be made with horse riding. I mean, 100 years ago, most people was riding horses. Now there are still races about horse people riding horses, but it is very uncommon to find a person able to ride a horse. So what is going to happen to race car driving? Probably race car driving will continue, but the difference will be that there will not be normal drivers. We will not drive our cars. So it will be difficult to identify ourselves with drivers. But still something, I mean, car driving and race car driving will still be an occasion to do something good or bad. So this is our major question. Is race car driving something good or something bad? In the past, especially when big accidents, big amount of deaths were seen in races, and now it is it's more rare because there is more safety in racing. Thanks to God, there is more safety. In the past, race car driving was considered very bad. I think, I mean, we should finally, I hope to convince you finally that private driving and race car driving can be good or bad as most human action. I mean, there is not a general answer, but everything can be good or bad. And then we go back, I mean, to a major question: what makes human actions good or bad? And so, including also racing. Maybe it's my hypothesis that doing good is what we do according to our nature. I mean, we should be, I mean, my idea is that we are naturally aimed to do good. To try to convince you about that, I will try to look to some examples in car racing. And the first example from which I want to start is about Gilles Villeneuve, a big racer, a big champion who is still present, heavily present. It was, I think it was a very important example of living to be good and to do good. Always striving to do the best, even exceeding. I have these two images about him. This is a famous picture from a Greek Italian photographer, which is Ercole Colombo, and you see her driving a race in 1981, even trying to do maybe more than it is possible, always trying to do the best. And he was not a crazy man, like somebody was saying. He was just always trying to do the best, even if it was very difficult, even if his car was not adequate. And then on the right, you see his fatal accident in 1982. His life, his way of living, his way of racing, his personality is an example of somebody believing that the goal of life is firstly to do good. And I think this is an example of faith. Faith beyond life, beyond faith in the goal of life, which is an example of faith. And remembering him talking to an audience in Watkins Glen, I cannot skip to remember his a special win in 1979 in Watkins Glen. He was first, he won, and more importantly, he did an incredible driving on that weekend, on the Friday of that weekend, of the race weekend. It was 9 seconds faster than anyone else, and this was in a very awful day, very bad weather. But he still tried, and he did the best. He was 9 seconds faster. Is something even on that times very special. This was obviously including his teammate Jody Scheckter, who just won the championship in that year. And maybe this is a way to show that possibly he deserved more than him the championship. But he was a special man, and he didn't challenge his teammate on that year. And now, looking to this Ferrari of 1979, I cannot forget the man just after Enzo Ferrari. He is the man who was able to engineer both chassis and engines from the beginning of 60 for almost 30 years. A very, very special man who left us, but is still with us. I mean, in our thoughts. Now, talking of looking to do good, be good, I want to remember what allows us to do good. And these are the fundamental fundamental virtues. First of all, virtues can be defined as usual and stable disposition to do good. And I will show you that we can easily, often recognize them in race car driving. There are 7, and they are the 3 major virtues, which are faith, hope, and love, which are the most important, allowing to select the goals of life, which are those, I mean, the first to be used, those 3. But then to realize our goals, we need these cardinal virtues, which are 4: prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. Let's start from faith, hope, and love. And the first example I want to show you is a very special man, Bruce McLaren. This was a special man, very special driver, but also one driver who was also able to win with a car built from his factory. So he was both a car constructor and a special driver. But I want to show you the words which he pronounced in this eulogy of his teammate, who died, Tim Mayer, in 1964. But who is to say that he had not seen more, done more, and learned more in his 26 years than many people do in a lifetime? I feel that life is measured in achievement, not in years alone. I like this way to celebrate. I mean, often when we have that in racing, racing is questioned. He was losing a friend, a teammate, but he was not questioning racing. And I think this is an example of determination to win, even taking every risks, even of dying. But this doesn't need to have a complete unawareness of life values. I mean, people like him, I don't consider people like him, he died, I mean, it was very big, he died a few years later. He was not a crazy man because he was taking risks. And it doesn't mean that he didn't realize it will die or didn't give a value to his life. It was just that he was looking to this major goal, to do good. This is him on the starting grid of the race where he died. The connection is not so good. I hope you're hearing it. This is the starting grid in Imola 1994. He was going to die a few minutes after the start. And it was a special weekend, a very sad weekend. The day before, another driver, Roland Ratzenberger, died in the same track. He was there and he was still determined to race. I mean, he was still with this determination to win. And together with this image, I like to show this other image of 1993, the day before in Donington, where he did probably the most important first lap of race, an incredible lap. He overtook a lot of other cars, won the race, and his car was absolutely not the best car in that day. It was a special driver, and he had faith in the idea that he had to do good, to do the best. Now, switching to hope, first example I want to give you is other very recently, special and recent driver, Lewis Hamilton, still choosing to do anyway. I like to remember still in the United States is 2015 US Grand Prix in Austin, and not the race. Actually, he won the race, but this was the final practice session. And the weather was awful that day. It was very, very difficult, and he was still the fastest, and much more than any other. I mean, trying to do the best, not having any fear, and doing it. I think this is an idea. I mean, a good way to talk about hope, but more than that, the major example of hope that I want to show you is this other Formula One driver, Gunnar Nilsson, a Swedish driver. He was driving for Lotus Team in 1976 and 1977. He was a very good driver, and actually he was able to win a Grand Prix in 1977, and probably was going to have a very good career. But sadly, his career was stopped from cancer. He had a very important cancer in 1970. Very, very active in starting a cancer research foundation, which is still, is still acting now. And he wasn't able to drive. He was not able to win. Actually, he was supposed to drive in 1978 Lotus, and this was 78 was winning Lotus. Actually, that was the year. This was the year in which Mario Andretti won the championship, and instead he dedicated his 1978 to start this cancer research foundation, working a lot to that. Somebody say even avoiding therapies to be able to work more on this project. And I mean, it's I think this is an example of hope. About the major victors, now the third one to talk about is love. And now I want to talk about Jackie Stewart. Jackie Stewart is 3 times world champion, and there is not that much to say about him. He's a very famous, very well known, very, very special driver. And I just want to remember here the 1973, the year 1973, where he won his 3rd championship with Tyrrell. And here is in Monza, and was an incredible day for him. He was supposed to easily win his championship because he needed just few points, but he had a puncture. And at that time, this was not a usual thing to stop for a tire change. And he exited from the pits as last, and then did an incredible driving, and was finally making a lot of overtakes, driving in a very incredible way. He was able to finish 4th and win the championship. It was an incredible day. I still remember that day. Very few, I've seen very rarely other occasion which a driver was giving so much. This is 73. Now, another picture of him is many years later, in 2019. He's still here. That's another blue car. This is not the theater. This is the Matra, by which he won the championship in 1969. And there are two other cars with his sons following him, which are the two cars by which he won the other two championships. And you see here he stops in this Woodford Festival. He stopped his car to gift a flower. These two images, which are related to the same person, which is that this is an example of, I mean, they're very similar, they are very related. In both occasions, is doing his best to do good, to be good and to do good. Finally, now I want to talk of the other four virtues still in racing. And to talk about these four other virtues that drive with you, cardinal virtues to get the fastest possible lap time in Monza. This is the track of Monza, and it is the start-finish line. And let's start, look, just to get to this start-finish, start a good lap, we have to make the best possible way the curva parabolica, the parabolic turn. Now, actually, this parabolic turn is also called the Alboreto turn, to remember the other big driver. Parabolica, to do the best parabolica, we need prudence. What is prudence? It is the virtue to distinguish true good in every situation, making the right choices. It is not fear, it is not diffidence. How can you use prudence here? To choose the best measure of braking and accelerating. This is a turn which opens gradually. So it has to be started, obviously braking before the turn, but then gradually accelerating. So it has to be continually adjusted, the right braking and the right acceleration. And then this is, so to do this at best, we need prudence. Then going to the start-finish straight, and then we are now getting through the start-finish line, we need justice. This is a portion of the track where the driving ability is not very important, only the power of the engine is giving you the highest speed. But now it is important to prevent any risk. I mean, there are a lot of rules to make an overtake, especially in these days. But before any rule, there is the justice to be used. What is justice? It is the determination to respect the rights of those that have relationship with us. So a driver in this point of the track has to consider either overtaking or defending the position to prevent any risk. And this is the need for just justice. Then we reach the first chicane. First chicane is a point where there is a very big braking to be done from about 340 kilometers per hour, which is 210 miles, to about 80, which is about 50 miles per hour. And so it's very big braking, and obviously it's to be done correctly, because getting through this chicane, there is this curva grande, which is done essentially as a straight, And so it is important to make it at the best, at the highest possible speed. And then to do this braking at the best, we need fortitude, which is the virtue that guarantees determination in difficulties, trying to do good. And then we'll use that to wait the right moment to brake hard, very, very hard to change this speed. And then going over again to the next two important points of the track, we get to this Variante della Roggia and then to the Lesmo Tars. Again, going through the Variante della Roggia, we need fortitude. Again, to properly brake and then get to the Lesmo curve in the best possible time. Again, Lesmo Tars are need prudence because they are very fast. These two bands, these are the two Lesmo curves, tars, and only moderate braking is necessary to get at the fastest possible speed to the next straight, which is bringing us to the Variante Ascari. Here, the virtue which is important is temperance. What is temperance? It is the virtue that moderates wishes and provides an appropriate balance using goods. Here, it is important to moderate the impulse of overspeeding. Why? Because, I mean, this is a very fast track. All Monza track is a very fast track. But at this point, the risk is to enter at a too high speed. And entering at a too high speed in this Variante Ascari essentially are three different tars, left and right and left tars. And then entering to at a too high speed makes you exit too slow. So it is necessary to moderate wishes, I mean, to moderate the impulse of overspeeding to get again to the next state, which brings again to the parabolica to complete our lap. So during the Monza lap, we needed all the four cardinal virtues. Concluding our my speech, I hope to have given you some ideas that about the fact that driving in the fastest way, driving in while racing, is a possible way to live to be good and to good at best. And then this means also properly targeting to the future. But the point is, I'm all saying that living to be good and to do good is the goal of life. I mean, the goal of our life is this. This is my idea. Obviously, this is a personal idea. I mean, I can just give you some other examples of this this way of thinking, and I will use the words of Dante Alighieri in his Divine Comedy, when Ulysses asked his fellows not to miss the chance to explore the unknown world, to go over. And I have heard the words which are the original Italian words, but I will read you the English translation. And these are: consider the seed that gave you birth. You were not made to live as brutes, but to be followers of virtue and knowledge. So knowledge is something which comes from the study, from the experience, which allows us to drive in, which drive us in our choices. And as a last image, again, I would like to indicate you this man, or this driver, which is in my heart, as Gilles Villeneuve, as an example. I mean, one of the major examples in racing of living to do good and to be good. And even giving you a citation which is from St. Paul, a citation which is aimed to everybody, but seems particularly fit for racers. And that is, do you not know that the runners in the stadium all run in race, but only one wins the prize, runs so as to win? Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you very much.
I'm stopping my sharing. Okay.